Hello, my name is Jodie, and this is the Hidden Sun podcast. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome. I believe this to be, unless I record something else in the meantime and put that out first, the first solo and the first audio only episode, because I feel like it. And because I've laid the foundation with the first 2 episodes, and actually what's alive for me is that as the seasons move and the days get shorter, I feel more inclined to slow things down. And yeah, so I'm still in a way in the bare grounds, like the soil of what this space is, although I have a sense and I have a kind of like a desired direction, but yeah, I'm feeling my way through that, and I realised that perhaps it's the kind of thing that the momentum for me will pick up again as we move into spring, but in the meantime, I guess I have these kind of themes that have been circling through my mind and imagination, and I would love to speak to them. Things that I'm always moving with and through, but which largely remain unsaid, I guess, unless I have a kind of spontaneous conversation with a friend or someone that I'm working with or someone that I care about. So anyway, I have this big desire in my heart to talk to some of what directs me in my work, dare I put language to it, and the undercurrent of my creative practices, and also deeper than that, how I relate to the world. None of it's separate. And so I want to talk about beauty. I guess for some context, in case you've happened upon this space not knowing anything about me, I'm a jeweller. I mean, I'm many things, but we all are. I'm a jeweller and a photographer by trade. Those are my practices. And so there's a reverence and a regard for beauty in both of these, which it is subjective, but also, as far as adornment goes, to create adornment is seen in some way as holding a beautifying quality, I feel. Adding beauty in how we choose to dress ourselves is, to my mind, just an extra on the beauty which is already within us, but it's a kind of outward mirror as part of our expression, I guess. But it's mirroring what's already in our being and in our souls. It mirrors the inner beauty, at least that's how I see it, and that's why I do what I do with regards to that thread of things. And photography too, there's a recognition of beauty in the capturing of a landscape or a person in their essential nature. And I feel so deeply that I'm in service to beauty through the creation and articulation of objects through handcraft, which is an ancient practice and a way of communicating with the world and with ourselves, in that we've been doing this for as long as we've been human. We've created art since our earliest iterations as humans, sticking pigment on an open palmed hand and planting it on a cave wall. Like, it's that old. And so all of this pondering on beauty, well, it's invited, I would say, my own curiosity enough that I've been leaving this kind of flurry of voice notes and phone notes to myself for a while now, not really knowing if I would ever share them or do anything with them. And I want to have a play here with how I might get these notes off of my phone and into the world, and share them in some way, and they find whoever they're meant to. I may never choose to do this again, But all I know is that I want to be able to speak honestly about the things that I care about and that are of my heart, and stir something of that creative fire within me, and feel joyful. So I thought, yeah, I could put all of these words into Substack, but maybe because I'm sharing with my voice, that they're closer to the original way that I have been kind of moving through this myself, as a series of voice notes, whilst walking along the seafront, which is, I can see it from my window, so it's very local to me and very close to me. So anyway, the thing I want to open out with is that, hang on, I'm going to have a sip of my tea, hang on, to prepare myself. What I want to open out with is that it's my belief that we understood the world and ourselves through beauty long before we understood ourselves through science, which, as we know it now, is our studying of the world through systems, I guess, and against immeasurable criteria, and importantly against what we can evidence, what we can know, and what we can quantify in some way. And I say this because in an age of information and even artificial intelligence and all that we can prove with tests and tools and intellect, I want to make a stand for beauty. Beauty as a source of knowing, beauty as valuable and essential to showing us the way of our humanness. This is not to pit one thing against the other whatsoever, although of course you can tell already, I'm sure, that I have a lean towards beauty. Only I say this because we see in what remains as artifact traces of a human history and of our humanity through the ages, and what we see is that before people knew exactly how everything was made, exactly how the sun rose, before we had quantum physics as we know it now, and all of these tools for measuring down to the 0.00000%, that there was a sense of appreciation for the beautiful qualities of our existence and of existence itself, which may have had a mythical or cosmological understanding attached to it that was relative to the mode of understanding at the time, and that you could call the science of that time. But there was a sense of inherent majesty and reverence, and a sense of the beauty of things which did not pin on knowing fundamentally the intricacies of that thing in the way that we quantify things now. And perhaps in some kind of way the unquantifiable, that which we cannot prove or measure, was revered rather than being a problem to solve. I say perhaps to all of this because who can say definitely? I certainly, who am I to say any of this is, absolute truth? It's just what's on my heart. It would be wild for me to say this is anything more than pondering. But what I want to say is that beauty is written into our bones, and it's in our eternal knowing. Beauty transcends time, in that it transcends thousands of years of change. Recognition of beauty over time is a constant in our continued existence. And in that sense, it cannot be anything other than essential to us all. Beauty, I believe, is a unifying force. Our appreciation for beauty is a way that we're not separate from each other. And maybe it was always this way, who knows? I feel like, we're in such polarized times, and so it does not pass me by, this kind of continued pondering on what actually unifies us and how we actually share experience between us across all cultures rather than are divided. Beauty has been here since we've been here, and before we were here to witness it even. In that sense, beauty, well, it outdates our existence. But since we have been here, I believe it's always existed. I feel like it's always existed, like, just for its own sake. And also as a way that we can understand our reality and ourselves. Like, I feel like if we were not here, yes, we would not be here to witness it, but I feel like it would continue just for its own magic and exquisite nature. I guess, let me ponder. Yeah, I feel like this thread of conversation, it's a reflection on the arts and the sciences, I feel, which were at one point in time unified, but now they seem to be split and are considered opposite, because at one point in time, knowing was not limited to knowledge through science and acquiring information. Knowing was gnosis, it was of gnosis, and it included instinct, feeling, and intuition. And I would say that beauty is part of this knowing. I feel like beauty is a quality of being and a gift of being. And it's part of an essential human experience long before we understood the world through scientific study and through factual analysis, fact-checking everything for truth. Although I can see a way that what is agreed as factual over time has changed and is always changing, and what is accepted as fact and as truth is as is agreed through, you know, groups of people and through culture, that is also always changing. This, like, the consideration of all of this, really, as I kind of spiral through it, this is why I take the dominant hierarchy of systems of scientific proving and tech, and I absolutely, you know, what's the word? Like the desire to know without doubt exactly how everything is made in order to know ourselves. I take this as something that, though it's a way, is not my way, and I take it with a pinch of salt as best I can, of course, because I still participate in the world, in these systems. But I take beauty very seriously as a necessity, and beauty is a matter of fact for me. That's what I really want to say. It's a matter of fact for me. Yeah, I feel like I may just take a moment. Just want to reorient myself, because I feel like I spiraled through so much of what was kind of alive for me, and it leads me to want to, I guess, say that by beauty, I don't mean what we agree is aesthetically beautiful necessarily, but in what nature shows us. Not beauty is acquisition, but beauty is the essential qualities of things all around us. So for me, it's in the truth of someone's expression, the leaves rotting on the ground, but also in the aliveness of all things, the unquantifiable nature of a sunset, oh my God, which unifies us in our appreciation of the thing. Beauty is part of our essential nature. I have no doubt about this. It's a unique and it's an exquisite part of our humanness, and we must hold it in high regard in order to continue to experience the beauty of this life. We really must. Yeah. In a wider sense of beauty, I mean, it's an endless list for me. And I'm sure it is for you too. I find that beauty, the way our heart beats for us our whole lives, and we never have to ask it to me, that's just unquantifiable beauty. The way that things fall just so in a particular way, and the way that strangers' faces can elicit a feeling in us. For these are all also ways that we understand our place in the world, and that we feel we're part of something more than just the separate self. And of course I do also mean things that are made by us that we consider to be artwork. That again, they have a beautifying quality to them, in that they enrich our world. Ornamentation, things made by hand, things crafted, things that we consider ornamental and may be considered superfluous, but actually to me they're essential. Or that it's essential that they exist, not that it's not essential that we possess all of it. In that sense, I believe that everything has a function, and I would argue that when we revere beauty, we're in service to something unifying, and that in that sense, as much as we talk about function as does it hold water or does it hold something up, what it does, I feel there's other ways to look at function. I feel like beauty, it has a purpose, although I don't think it's here just for us. I think it's here for its own enjoyment too, the energy of life. I really have a sense of that. I feel like I feel like from here, as I kind of spiral further through this, what I feel I want to say is that beauty is our nature, and it's an essential quality of our aliveness, and it's not separate from us. It's just of us and through us and moving through us all the time. And it's always inviting us to move with it. We're in a dance with it. I feel whether we notice it or not. Beauty, beauty, beauty. I don't even know if I dare even, define beauty. Does it need to be defined? I don't think it does. But I feel like it's a quality of our aliveness, which is like a frequency rather than one agreeable thing, although I'm sure many people have tried to put definition to it. Although we have things that across all cultures and all times we understand to be beautiful, I feel like I almost dare not even try to put any kind of shred of a definition to beauty, because it's the undefinable. It is I feel like the undefinable, the unquantifiable nature of things. And to me, beauty is this kind of dance of feeling our aliveness through the senses or through the sensory experience of the thing. It's where life is invited in through the sensual quality of something, in a way. Beauty is evocative by nature, and it elicits something from us, but with us, or many things. Wonder, appreciation, pleasure, the quality of being moved by life's wonder and majesty and inherent aliveness. It's where we recognize the inherent qualities of life, its imperfection, its impermanence, its majesty, creativity, and we're in it because we're in our senses and in our bodies in that way. We perceive beauty through sight and smell and touch and sound and taste, and the subtle qualities, like the energy of the thing can be beautiful, like its resonance, which I guess is also has a kind of sensual and senseful nature of it. And I guess beauty is also the true expression of life, as we see in all of nature. I guess from all of this, what I'm saying is that beauty is no one thing or one definition, but our appreciation of it is universal, and it's unifying in our experience of it. Like there's an appreciation of a sunset which transcends culture, and it's across all cultures. In that sense, it's unified and unifying, and so inextricably tied to our humanness. My particular flavour of beauty is beheld by my eyes only, but also the experience of seeing something and recognising it as beautiful is also shared by each of us in the human way that we experience that and witness it. We all have our definitions of taste or appeal, but I feel beauty is the isness of things, which is less definable. It's where we feel joy or where we look at something and it elicits a sense of wonder, belonging, recognition. The beautiful is also found there in that place. I feel that beauty is something we can revere, but not because we can define it necessarily or at all against a metric, although I understand people will try. Because it's just of us and of nature. Like, although I understand in photographic terms, we have composition, we have the golden ratio as a measure, symmetry, or a way to achieve a perceived optimal beauty. I also feel like that's one of the ways that we try and quantify the unquantifiable. And so I feel that beauty exists so far beyond this, so far beyond what we can pin down. And so, where do I go? Yeah, I feel like after all of this is circling, moving. I have incense lit in my room, and it's kind of doing, I feel like moving through it is doing what the smoke is doing for me. It's this kind of like unfolding of the thing. After all of this has kind of been said, and after I'd kind of sounded out some of these things, I did, and this is the part that's written down, I did the highly paradoxical thing of asking a machine, after I've said all of this, a machine to quantify in some way more of what I was feeling, and that I felt was being kind of like drawn out of me. So I googled beauty quotes, and I did so from what is my, how do I word it, like my favourite flavour, I guess, of worded sources, which is the words and the poetry of John O'Donoghue, although there's always a bit of Rumi mixed in there somewhere. But actually, what struck me was this series of words from his book, Beauty, the Divine Embrace. I don't know how I don't have this book. But actually, the words that I found are from someone else, not John O'Donoghue. They're kind of, I don't know if paraphrased is the right word. They're not his words, but he's referenced them. Anyway, this sentence was from this man, Frederick Turner. I've never heard of him. And I read this sentence and it was like just an exquisite direct line to my heart. He said, I feel like I need to like sit properly for this. I'm sat on a bolster. Right. He said, "The beautiful can exist at the edge precisely because it has nothing to lose and everything to give away." Oh, I just love it. I love it because it was so evocative for me. So beautiful and so evocative. And I love it because at every threshold and deeply painful time in my lived experience, beauty has met me at the edge of it all, like the edge of all of those moments, and brought me back. It's why I create art now, and I feel like I owe it to beauty, which is a whole other transmission for another time, on beauty in the dark, as I call it, beauty in the dark. And it made me think of the words of Mary Oliver, who said, "I got saved by the beauty of the world," which is also a whole other thing. So anyway, I then did this dive into this sentence from Frederick Turner. In my curiosity, I was like, who is this man? And I didn't find too much, but I found that he had this seminar which was recorded on YouTube. It's a kind of manifesto on beauty, I'd say. And the audio is quite patchy in it, so there are bits that I couldn't listen to, but I think it's called Why Beauty Matters, I believe. And when I started to listen, I started to cry, because he put language to what I could not name quite so elegantly and eloquently as he did. I feel like he put language to so much of what was kind of spiraling through and what I experienced but could not name. And not just me. I feel, again, it's part of this unifying experience of witnessing beauty and being in beauty. Anyway, what I've transcribed to share with you is this, because it was just so special and I felt like it needed to be said. This beautiful man, Frederick Turner, God bless this man, said, "If all of the world's cultures have a concept of beauty, then clearly it's something that has to do with the way we are made as human beings." He says, "Beauty is the source of our deepest knowledge of the world." And I thought, oh my God, bless this man who's speaking like to the same thread that's been moving around for me, and it made me feel a bit less separate, I guess. You know, like we have these thoughts and we think, oh, it's just it feels like it's contained within us, but then we hear it out loud from somebody else and it's like, oh no, that's the thing. And I feel like there's a sense of our kind of belonging in that. Anyway, he goes on to say, "Beauty is the source of our deepest knowledge of the world. Acanthus chicory ferns, or like jacquard paisleys, the feathers of peacocks, the body paint or tattoo designs of Maoris or Melanesians, the complexity of a great wine, or Haida ornamentation, or seahorses or Mozart. The iterative feedback process principle, which is at the heart of all of these processes, is the deep theme or tendency of all of nature, nature the creator of forms. It's the logos and eros of nature, and it is what we feel and intuit when we recognize beauty." I mean, I've got no words now after that, and if I were to say anything in repetition, I mean, I'm kind of done for words. I guess it's that first sentence, beauty is the source of our deepest knowledge of the world. It's just so exquisite. I guess because in there is the circling round to what it was that when I was walking along the beach the other day, considering all of this, and what I feel and understand and experience in my kind of, in my everyday, and also in the creation of art, and the experience of being with other people. And just in my life, beauty is the source of so much for me, because in the experience of it, I'm more alive and more here in the world, you know, more feet planted on the ground and more in my senses and more more in my aliveness, like I can feel the energy all the way to my fingertips, you know. And I know myself more deeply through its witnessing, and I feel like that's all I have to say. I mean, I could go on, but I want to pause there, pause for a breath, because I feel like I've said everything I want to say. I'm really grateful to be able to speak in this way into the ether and let the words find their way to whoever wishes to hear them. So thank you so much for listening. Have a beautiful day. Have a beauty-filled day.